Imagine East Africa 2 million years ago. You're a small hominin, barely 5 feet tall, with no claws, no fangs, and no armor. But you share the landscape with creatures that do. Saber-toothed cats. These predators were built for power, not speed. Their ambush style meant you had to be constantly alert, watching the tall grass for any sign of movement. But you had something they didn't, a brain capable of planning and working together. You could signal danger to your group, and together you could drive the predator away. This ability to cooperate and share knowledge was our greatest weapon. It allowed us to survive and eventually thrive, while the saber-toothed cats faded into extinction. Like Meganthurian, giant hyenas the size of bears, and crocodiles that could swallow a child whole. To them, you were just another protein source. But here's the puzzle. We didn't just survive. We began to fight back. Armed with sharpened sticks and fire, early humans turned the tables. A single burning branch could send a pride of lions running. But the real game changer was something else entirely. Cooperation. While other predators relied on individual strength, humans learned to work in groups. A single human was weak, but a band of humans with a plan could take down a mammoth. This social intelligence became our greatest weapon. And with cooperation came language. Not just grunts and gestures, but complex speech. Around a campfire, our ancestors shared stories, passed down knowledge, and planned for the future. This was the spark that ignited civilization. Thrived, we spread across the globe. How? The answer lies not in our bodies, but in our brains, and in a substance that changed everything, fire. But before we get to that, let's look at what we were before fire. Our ancestors were not the strongest or fastest. They were small, slow, and vulnerable. But we had something they didn't, a brain capable of imagination, planning, and cooperation. At the evidence that predators really did see us as prey. Fossil skulls from South Africa's Taung site, dated to 2.8 million years ago, show puncture marks that match the fangs of a big cat, likely a leopard or saber-tooth. These marks are not random. They cluster around the eye sockets and the back of the skull, exactly where a predator would bite to kill or carry its prey. But the most chilling evidence comes from the famous Taung Child, the skull of a young Australopithecine. The back of the skull bears a pair of V-shaped notches, perfectly spaced to match the lower canines of a leopard. This child was not scavenged after death. It was killed and eaten by and it wasn't just leopards. At the Schöningen's cave, also in South Africa, fossil baboon skulls show puncture marks from a different predator. The giant false saber-toothed cat, Dinofleas. This cat had powerful forelimbs and could climb trees, making it a formidable hunter. These fossils tell a clear story. For millions of years, our ancestors were not the hunters. They were the hunted. They lived in constant fear of predators that were faster, stronger, and equipped with natural weapons. This pressure shaped our evolution, driving us to develop bigger brains, better social cooperation, and eventually, the tools to fight back. Cat, the Taung Child, a young Australopithecine, was killed and eaten by a leopard. So how did our ancestors avoid becoming regular meals? The first line of defense was social. Living in groups meant more eyes to spot predators and more hands to fight them off. But our ancestors also evolved physical defenses. They became bipedal, walking upright on 2 legs. This freed their hands to carry weapons and tools. A simple rock or a sharp stick turned a defenseless primate into a dangerous opponent. But the most powerful weapon was not made of stone or wood. It was the human brain itself, capable of planning, communicating, and outsmarting any predator. Of 20 to 50 individuals meant many eyes watching for danger. When a predator approached, they didn't scatter. They mobbed it, yelling, throwing stones, waving branches. A single hominin was vulnerable, a coordinated group was. A fortress, this collective defense was a key advantage. It allowed them to claim and defend rich territories, riverbanks, caves, game trails, that would have been impossible for a lone individual to hold. But cooperation wasn't just about survival. It was the engine of innovation. When one hominin discovered how to knap a sharper flint, that knowledge spread through the group. A better hand axe meant more meat, more hide. Knowledge accumulated. Each generation built on the last. A child who learned to make fire could cook food, which made digestion easier and freed energy for brain growth. That bigger brain, in turn, invented better tools. It was a feedback loop, and it started with a group sharing a meal around a fire. This mobbing behavior is still seen in chimpanzees and baboons. It works because predators are risk-averse. A broken tooth or infected wound can mean death, so they target the weak and isolated. But groups need communication. Early hominins likely used calls, gestures, and eventually language to coordinate. A simple shout could mean lion to the north or run to the trees. This social intelligence, key survival advantage. Those who could share information lived longer, passed on more genes, and built larger groups. Language didn't just describe the world, it helped change it. As brains grew, so did social networks. A larger neocortex allowed for more complex relationships. Dunbar's number suggests humans can maintain about 150 stable social connections. This cognitive limit shaped tribes, villages, and even modern organizations. But social living also created new pressures. Competition for status, mates, and resources intensified. Early humans had to balance cooperation with self-interest. Those who navigated this social tightrope best became leaders, innovators, and ancestors of future game changer. It allowed humans to share information about predator locations, water sources, and safe sleeping sites. The group became a collective brain. But the ultimate weapon was fire. Controlled use of fire appears at around 400,000 years ago. Fire provided warmth, protection from predators, and the ability to cook food. Cooking made food easier to digest and unlocked more calories, fueling the growth of the human brain. This extra energy allowed our ancestors to develop larger brains, which in turn led to more complex tools, language, and social structures. The feedback loop had begun. The earliest evidence of controlled fire use dates back at least 1.5 million years ago, with clear hearths at sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Fire did more than cook food. It created a fortress. A simple campfire kept predators at bay. With fire, early humans could survive the night and expand into colder regions. All night, the eyes that glow in the dark fear the flames. Fire also allowed humans to reshape their environment. By setting controlled burns, they could clear brush and create open areas where predators could be spotted from a distance, couldn't ambush them, and fire made food more digestible. Cooking released calories, fueling the growth of the human brain. A bigger brain meant better planning, better tools, and better strategies against predators. With fire, couldn't ambush them, and fire made food more digestible. Cooking released calories, fueling the growth of the human brain. A bigger brain meant better planning, better tools, and better strategies against predators. With fire, humans could also make more effective weapons. Hardening wooden spears in flames made them deadly. The balance of power was shifting. By 500,000 years ago, Homo heidelbergensis was crafting wooden spears like those. Found at Schöningen, Germany, preserved in a lake bed for 500,000 years. Found at Schöningen, Germany. These were not mere digging sticks, they were balanced throwing weapons. With spears, humans could wound predators from a distance. A pack of hominins with spears could drive largest predators. This was a revolution in human survival. The spear was not just a weapon, it was a tool that reshaped the relationship between humans and the natural world. With this new power, early humans could hunt larger game more reliably. A single well-aimed spear could bring down a deer or a horse, providing meat for the whole group. The spear also became a symbol of status and skill. Those who could craft and throw well were respected. It was a tool that demanded intelligence, planning. Largest cats, the predator now had to weigh the cost of attacking. Stone tools also played a role. Sharp-edged flakes could be used to cut tendons or inflict deep wounds. A predator with a wounded leg would struggle to hunt, making it less of a threat. Over time, early humans learned to use fire as a weapon. A burning branch waved at a predator's face could force it to retreat. Smoke and heat created a barrier that few animals dared to cross. Fire also provided light, extending the day and allowing humans to be active after dark. It offered warmth in cold climates, enabling migration into new regions. And it was essential for cooking, which made food safer and easier. Cooking broke down tough fibers and killed parasites, unlocking more calories from the same amount of food. This extra energy may have fueled the growth of the human brain. With fire, early humans gained a powerful ally, one that would shape our species forever. A severed hamstring was as good as dead. But the most important weapon was the human mind. Humans learned to read tracks, anticipate predator behavior, and set traps. They turned the predator's own instincts against them. By driving herds of animals over cliffs, they could kill many at once. They also used fire to flush out prey from hiding places, or to create barriers that directed animals into kill zones. These tactics required cooperation, communication, and a deep understanding of the environment. It was the beginning of organized warfare against nature. Against them, evidence from sites like Outsmarted in Kenya shows that by 1.2 million years ago, humans were butchering large animals like hippos and elephants. They were no longer just prey, they were becoming apex predators. This shift in diet had profound effects on human evolution. Meat is energy-dense, and digesting it requires less gut volume than plant foods. Over time, the human gut shrank, and the energy saved was redirected to the brain. The result was a feedback loop. Bigger brains allowed for better tools and strategies, which led to more successful hunting, which provided more meat, fueling further brain growth. By around 500,000 years ago, human ancestors had brains nearly twice the size of earlier hominins. They were also building more complex shelters and controlling fire, which made meat even easier to digest and safer to eat. The real turning point came with Homo sapiens. Around 300,000 years ago, we developed projectile weapons, spear throwers and bows that could kill from a safe distance. With ranged weapons, humans could hunt dangerous animals. Predators, the real turning point came with Homo sapiens. Around 300,000 years ago, we developed projectile weapons, spear throwers and bows that could kill from a safe distance. With ranged weapons, humans could hunt dangerous animals. Like mammoths and cave bears, they could also eliminate predators that threatened their camps. The tables had turned, but this success came at a cost. As humans became more efficient hunters, they began to overhunt certain species, driving them toward extinction. The very animals they relied on for survival were disappearing. To overhunt certain species, driving them toward extinction. The very animals they relied on for survival were disappearing. To drive large predators to extinction. The saber-toothed cat, the giant hyena, the dire wolf, all gone. By 10,000 years ago, humans had spread to every continent except Antarctica. We had domesticated dogs, which became our first domesticated animal, and a powerful ally in hunting and protection. Our sentinels and hunting partners, predators that once ruled now feared us. Today, we are the most dangerous species on the planet. But we didn't get here by being stronger. We got here by being smarter, more social, and more adaptable. Our ancestors' survival strategies are written in our genes. So how did ancient humans survive predators? Not by running faster or fighting harder, but by working. Together, they formed groups, shared tasks, and developed tools. A single human was vulnerable, but a band of humans could scare off even the largest predators. They used fire to keep animals at bay and crafted weapons from stone and wood. Cooperation wasn't just about defense. It allowed them to hunt large game, like mammoths, which provided massive amounts of food, fur, and bone for tools. A coordinated hunt required planning, communication, and trust. This social intelligence gave them a decisive edge. They could pass knowledge across generations, refine techniques, and build on each other's discoveries. In the end, it wasn't strength that made humans the dominant species, but the ability to share ideas and work as together, controlling fire and inventing tools that extended our reach. The evidence is clear. From the Taung Child to the Schöningen spears, our ancestors were both prey and predator. They learned, adapted, and ultimately. The evidence is clear. From the Taung Child to the Schöningen spears, our ancestors were both prey and predator. They learned, adapted, and ultimately dominated. Next time you see a campfire or a pack of dogs, remember, you're looking at 2 million years of survival strategy. We are the descendants of the ones who refused to be prey. They learned to work together, to share food, to protect each other. And that cooperation became our greatest weapon. But survival wasn't just about hunting. It was about passing knowledge from one generation to the next. Every tool, every fire, every story was a lesson. And that knowledge built civilizations. From the first spark to the first city, we carried the fire of our ancestors, and we never stopped moving forward. We are not the strongest nor the fastest, but we are the ones who learned to share a fire, to stand together, and to imagine a future. That is why we are here. We are not the strongest nor the fastest, but we are the ones who learned to share a fire, to stand together, and to imagine a future. That is why we are here.